Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review, and what I'm looking at today is 2021's We Need to Do Something, directed by Sean King O'Grady. And I watched this movie twice, well, technically 1.5 times, and that the second time I didn't pay that much attention to what was happening on screen because I was looking at it to mainly verify what I thought when I first saw it, which is namely that this movie is great. That's what I initially thought. And kind of rewatching it the second time, I realized that it's not. It's entertaining as hell and really interesting. Though the problem is, I'm not really sure what it's trying to be at times. The movie revolves around this family who are trapped in their bathroom during a storm, and very strange things of an otherworldly nature begin to happen to them. This is interesting. This aspect of the movie, I should say, is interesting, and it reminded me of Kubrick's The Shining, in the sense that you have people isolated and undergoing really weird things which they're powerless to prevent. That aspect I thought was very interesting, and it was welcome to see. What didn't work quite so well for me are a few things, really. First off, there's the performance of Pat Healy as Robert. Now keep in mind, Healy's performance is quite good. The problem with it, though, is that he's a dick. And he's a dick throughout the entire movie. And here's the issue with that. Referencing The Shining again, Jack Nicholson's character gradually went bonkers. He was always kind of weird because Jack Nicholson appears kind of weird in most movies. Though he gradually began to lose touch with reality as the movie progressed. And that was a very visually interesting approach to the character. Though Pat Healy's character is always an asshole. Throughout the entire movie, he's an asshole. It's just a question of to what degree is he an asshole? And the problem with this is that there's no progression with his character. When things start to get weird, it's hard to tell if there's anything happening with him because he is always acting like a dick and a bully and just a very mean person. And so his behavior undermines the narrative. And as I said, Healy is a great actor in this movie. I put his performance firmly in the hands of the director, Sean King O'Grady, because I get the feeling he didn't tell Healy to rein it in, to just let it out little by little. As I said, it undermines the effectiveness of the movie building towards something, because he was always a bad person. He just gets progressively worse. So there's no real tension there. So that when he turns essentially insane, you don't think much of it because he was halfway there frame one. So that's a bit of an issue. Another issue that I found with the movie is that Melissa, played by Sarah McCormick, is his daughter. And as the narrative progresses, we come to learn that her and her girlfriend were messing around with black magic, which might be the reason family is in this situation that they're in, i.e. trapped in a bathroom during a hurricane. The problem with this is that the movie doesn't really feel like it's Melissa's story. It just kind of feels like things are happening and she just happens to be present. Without the gravitas of, let's say, a Jack Nicholson to really carry the role, it just kind of feels like she's just there. It's not that her performance is bad, it isn't. It just feels kind of anchorless. She's just drifting through events. If the movie is at all accurate, keep in mind also, this is based upon a book, which I haven't read. I have no idea how it proceeded. Though, she should be the center of events. Her and her girlfriend started all this after all. Yet, she doesn't feel like the center of events. She just seems very much adrift. So that's not a great thing. What works, and yet doesn't work sometimes, is that the violence is sometimes very fantastic and sometimes over the top. Now, over the top in reference to violence depictions can be a good thing. Unfortunately, in the case of this movie, it comes off hilariously funny. If you see the movie, you'll know what I mean. It's just ridiculously silly, and it doesn't seem to me to have been played for laughs, though it just comes off as so bizarre that it's funny. Now, I think someone like a Sam Raimi could have pulled off this scene in question really well, but he probably would have played it for laughs as well. The director here, as far as I can tell, does not, and it is hilariously bizarre. So, we need to do something. It is worth seeing. It is interesting. It is bizarre as fuck at times, but it's just not as good as it could be. And as I think I've outlined, there are some relatively minor changes that could have been done, making the movie more centered around Melissa, that could have changed the dynamic, making this a great movie as opposed to just an interesting one. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. If you agree, disagree, let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow.